What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys checking us out here. I'm with my boy Bill. This is Pablo, and we wanted to talk about something that's been hot circulating the news lately, and that's Deshaun Watson and the possibility of him either staying or leaving the Houston Texans. Bill, what you got for us? You think that Deshaun Watson should stay? You think he's got somewhere else to be? Hit me with
I,
it.
I think he's been quite smart about this whole situation, trying to wait for the coach until he finally decides if he actually wants to request a trade. But the rumors are he does want to request a trade out. He's had enough of that whole organization, the way they treated him, the way they typically treat players. I think it's just that owner's mentality where it's like, you're going to be here. I know you're going to be here for the next 5 to 10 years, but I'm still going to be here in 10 years owning the team. And then it's really like, I don't need to consult you on stuff like this, right?
More of an owner's attitude. This is
More
my
of an
team.
owner's attitude, exactly. But although the Houston Texans organization has come out and said no, JJ Watt and Deshaun Watson have all been part of our decision making process. But if that was the case, I don't think you would really hear that grumbling coming out of Deshaun's camp. So I think the best thing, I would personally like him to leave Houston because I don't think they have much draft capital to build with, of course, and they have a lot of holes on that team as a whole. Like I think he probably looks at someone like Josh Allen, for example, someone who they
Mm,
battled it out together last year in the playoffs. He actually ended up
hmm
winning that matchup, proceeded further, and you look at exactly what the Bills have done for Josh Allen. They knew he needed a top wide receiver. They traded for Stephon Diggs. What did the Houston Texans do? They're like, oh, you have a star wide receiver. We'll trade him away. Uh, they know that he needs like a good mind and need to have a solid roster that can support him. Whereas Houston Texans are like, no, we got Deshaun Watson. He'll we can cheap out here or we can trade this player. We can do this because we know at the end of the day we have Deshaun Watson and he'll probably carry us. And I don't think that's really the what you want to be doing to a person who's had two ACL tears. Trying to put him behind that offensive line, which was apparently supposed to be good. That's why you gave up all those first round picks. But it wasn't very good this year. So I don't really know what they're wasting all their draft capital and their money, everything on this year. Just making questionable decisions left and right. So I think that he should leave. And the ideal place that keeps coming up that I've heard multiple times now uh, is the Miami Dolphins. Miami
mm.
Dolphins have a very good situation where they have very young quarterback right now, who's up and coming, who could potentially, Houston could start the rebuild with him, while they also have the Texans' third overall pick, along with
hmm
having their own 18th overall pick. So that's two
hmm
first rounders, along with Tua. I think that's a pretty good package that I think Houston would actually, if Deshaun actually wants to get traded, request a trade or demands a trade, and especially, I think that's probably the team that can offer him the most in a young quarterback that can replace him, along with two first round picks that can, be major in their building the team around Tua going forward. What about you?
Hold on, let me ask you something then. So
Mhm.
if you were Houston, you would take that package. You would give up Deshaun Watson for Tua Tagovailoa, the third overall pick and the 18th overall pick. That would be enough for you to ship him to Miami.
I think if that's a possibility, I could even see the Dolphins putting in another first rounder pick for next year. Like
And that would be
that's
and that would
three.
be good enough for you as GM of the Texans, and you take that.
Well, based on the decisions and what they have, personally, me, I would not. But from
you'd
what you,
still wouldn't.
no, I wouldn't. From
Mm.
from but from what I've seen from the Texans, and if especially if Deshaun demands that trade, I think that's something that they should definitely consider because then I think that really allows those picks really allow their franchise to kind of come back and rebuild around a young ascending quarterback. They don't have to have that expensive quarterback, which Deshaun will be now with his new deal. So I think that's with three first round picks and Deshaun demanding a trade. I think if I was the Texans, I would, along with Tua, trade make that trade with Miami.
Do you think Tua comes with question marks, or have you liked what you've seen from so far from the limited action he's had in his rookie year?
Well, he definitely comes with question marks. He's not that one of those quarterbacks like Deshaun was in his rookie season, or how what we saw in Justin Herbert this previous year, where they just came in their rookie years and absolutely balled. Like there was
Mm,
like they could have literally no one on their team and they would still absolutely ball. They're just straight ballers. But like Tua is someone who has a lot of potential. He's very accurate with the ball, which is very good. He doesn't really turn it over, but he does have some limitation. I don't know if he's just hesitant coming off that injury that he just came off of. He just doesn't want to get hit. He's just being very cautious with the ball. He doesn't want to get pulled, especially in the Miami situation, because he knew every time he did something bad or something, Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to come back into the game and he was going to take over. So I think that was a bit of an uncertain time. So I don't think we truly saw what Tua's made out of, because they never let him just hang in those games where they were kind of down. They just put Fitzmagic in, and he did the rest.
the old bullpen, but this question is multifaceted. Obviously, I think as any question involving a superstar quarterback potentially moving teams would be. For me, I think you hit the nail right on the head in that the Houston Texans kind of are overly reliant on Deshaun Watson. And if you draw a comparison with the Buffalo Bills, who actually tried to build a team around Josh Allen, they try to supplement whatever deficiencies they thought that he might have. And obviously that's led them to take the next step as a whole. We see them now as division winners, the number 2 seed in the AFC. And now obviously they're on to divisional round, they'll host Baltimore. Deshaun, I think, has been a victim of his own success to a point in Houston. They've seen
I
how
agree.
much he can do
Absolutely.
with so little, and so now that's almost become the expectation of him. And we've seen, obviously, and a lot of people have talked at length about the big hole that Bill O'Brien will leave them in because of his personnel decisions. I think the less said about Bill O'Brien as a GM, the better.
That's a
Uh,
quote of the day.
he's definitely left the team in a much worse condition than when he found them. And I think if I were Deshaun, I would be pushing for a fresh start as well. Now that I've been in this league a couple of years, now that he's taken the leap and he is a bona fide elite quarterback. He is a top 5 QB in this league, maybe top 10, just because of the amount of talent that's around nowadays. I think if I were him, I would be pushing for a fresh start. I think Deshaun knows that if he sticks around in Houston, there's not going to be a lot better seasons to look forward to. And Deshaun has always been a serial winner, from high school to Clemson. We saw what he was able to do in those national championship games against Nick Saban's defense. We saw what he was able to do, especially we see what he's able to do, especially when games are hanging on balance. You brought up the playoff game against Buffalo last year. We saw it then too when he brought his team back from being down 16-0. And let's not forget, those same Houston Texans were up 24-0 on the Kansas City Chiefs last year.
They
If it
were.
wasn't for a historic collapse and obviously a historically great offense over there in Kansas City, we could have seen the Houston Texans reach the AFC Championship. Now, having said all that, I'm still an advocate for Deshaun to go elsewhere. I think ideally, if we're talking about perfect fit in terms of the benefit for both the team and the quarterback, his ideal landing spot would be New England. I think you can't do better than Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels if he were to stay. We saw what that offense was with Cam Newton behind center this year, but I think Deshaun Watson is a massive upgrade over that. We saw that Bill and his coaching staff aren't hesitant or aren't unwilling to change around their system and scheme around the talent that they have at quarterback. And I think that McDaniels especially would just have a field day with someone like Deshaun Watson back there that can command the offense. They still have a pretty good stable of running backs. James White is still shifty. James White can still do his thing. I'm not saying the offense, would be as it was with Tom Brady, but I think Deshaun Watson just absolutely takes this offense to another stratosphere and would take the whole team to another stratosphere, could potentially build them up to be winners again. But I also like to fit in Miami, mainly
But
because
like
Miami has
if you
pieces.
although they do
Miami
have
has
the
a defense.
connections, although do the Houston Texans like front office now has some connections with New England. Do you really think the New England offers that package. They have that good of a package that they'll actually be able to compete against an offer. Like if in a perfect world, a team doesn't want to trade their star quarterback or any quarterback that they think that they can haunt them in the future in the same conference. But I think
Absolutely.
looking around the league, I think Miami absolutely offers them by far the best package anybody else can, especially to a place he wants to go. Like theoretically, Jets could also offer a pretty good package with Sam Darnold, the second overall pick, and they also have that Seattle pick and their own pick.
Hmm.
No, their own pick is a second pick, so they have
The
their
second round,
second
yeah,
pick and
second
Seattle
overall.
pick and Sam Darnold. So that's already pretty good, pretty good package too. But then I don't think Deshaun would personally want to be traded there. So I don't know if he can behind the scenes tell the Jets, no, I'm not gonna play for you or some kind of those kind of situation, right? But like I think those are the two teams that can theoretically offer a young quarterback along with some first round picks for this year and maybe even potentially the next year's first round pick. But I don't think he would be in a much better situation with the Jets. And I don't think that really is the best situation for him. Miami's a built team. Like literally, they're just a quarterback away. Maybe a little bit better talent at wide receiver, but that's literally the only thing they're missing on their team. Everything else, their defense is solid. Their run game, literally anybody they plug in does well. And then I think Devontae Parker is good, but I think he's a secondary receiver. But maybe with Deshaun, he can be a number one. You never know.
If we're going realistic, then I would wholeheartedly agree with Miami. Miami has a very, very elite defense. I think that they do have sufficient pieces on offense that Deshaun can make things work. You know, they do have a really solid running game. They had a really solid running game right at the end of the year this year. And I bring up New England just because of the history there, because of the way that I think that they could scheme around Deshaun and really maximize his abilities, even though the roster isn't as talented, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as you could say Miami would. And you're absolutely right. Deshaun also comes with a big price tag. New England has never been that sort of team.
Although
So
they could, but I don't think that would be the best offer on the table for the Texans. And
no,
unless they're just trying to hook up
absolutely
Bill
not.
Belichick and thank him for everything that like he's done for their career,
uh,
that would literally be the only reason that he would be traded to New England. Like otherwise, they do not have enough of a package that can compete without the Jets or the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't think they can incentivize Houston to make that trade. Like I said, Deshaun also comes with a big price tag. I'm not sure if New England is the type of team to pull a trigger on that sort of trade and basically gamble with their upcoming future. So I think Miami does make the most sense on paper. Like you said, they're already a pretty well built team. They are a quarterback away, and I think Deshaun, like I said, he's been a victim of his own success. So I think if he comes to Miami, he won't be an unfamiliar situation where he's not, surrounded by elite talent, and I really don't think I wouldn't foresee him struggling.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you did like the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and keep watching the Bill and Pablo show.